Yeah, we're doing an Origami Yoshi today. Hopefully he'll turn out like this in the end, but otherwise, let's go ahead and just get started. So the way I'll start off is to have the diagonal fold like this, and then we'll start off by basically folding the creases that'll make up the 3 flaps he has on the back of his head. I don't know what they're called in particular, but this is, for those who kind of see my models, this is kind of a pretty familiar reference point to do. Just have it on the horizontal part there, hit that diagonal part. So just like this here. And you'll fold on that crease line then like this. Right along the center. Then I'll fold down like this. So just have this line line up with the center line there. On the other side, just kind of pleats those. Okay, so then we have just this pleat pattern on the top like this here. Okay, so now the arms is going to connect, or at least the tip of the hand where the arm is going to be, will connect from this line here. So I'll turn it over, or here's a better way. Have this, I'm going to have this top tip folded down like this. Then I'm going to fold these up just right along that line there. Or, I don't need to do that. You could just fold right to the reference point that we made first off. Just different ideas, that's okay. Whatever is your favorite approach, you can stick with that. So again, to that reference point where my pointer finger is. Like that's there. Now Yoshi typically, as I've seen, has 4 fingers like so. So the way that I will set that up exactly, I'm gonna fold this reference point up here. And then I'm gonna connect from this reference here, this crease here, to this crease, only folding along here. This will add a lot of consistency to do the pleats for the arms. So you'll just make that point right there. And then you'll just fold right on it. Do the same thing here very quick. Then I'll actually pleat this up right onto that line there. Both sides, of course. Okay, once I get those, so I'll flip it over. So then I'll have more lines in between these. So this will be basically 6x6 sort of graft going along the entire line like this. Other side like so. At least for this video, even if I make certain mistakes, I'm not gonna do any cropping stuff because I want you to be able to see the full creation instead of missing, or at least the full process of the creation instead of missing out on certain parts that I would edit. I used to do that, but I think just thinking about it, I think you guys might prefer just to see the whole thing come alive, especially if you watch this for fun rather than to actually try to fold. So there we go. So like so, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like that. Perfect. All right, so right around here, to really get the arm connection flap, especially around the graft, I'm just going to pinch. So I'm just taking this, aligning along with this line here. 22.5 degree angles. That's a certain angle type you will see super often in my designs, inspired from Satoshi Kamiya. Just like that. And I'll have more of these creases here. The creases here is just this line here. So this line that hits this center part that connects to around this here. Because this will make collapsing this a little bit easier. Cool. Now, as for where the leg flaps are going to be exactly, or at least where the hand flaps will be at. See, so I'm trying to remember how I did this here. Okay, I remember how. So I'm actually gonna, I'm gonna take this corner, fold it to that there, and I'm only gonna fold on this side. I'm not gonna extend it, just on this side here. Gonna do it again. This should generally give you the right position where his hand flaps are going to be at generally. Okay, yeah, so this is perfect here. So I'm basically folding on to this, or these points match up right there. Or actually, not even this point, but what's even better is this corner can line up with this reference point right here. Do on both sides. Very quick. Flip it to the other side. I'll pleat these up like this. Then I'm going to create these lines, which maybe you can easily get from, okay, maybe not, but just follow the reference points I have. It's all in the same sort of angle here. And the eye flap for Yoshi will be created while we're collapsing the actual design. And I think what I would like to do here, so I don't know if I want to, I'm not going to narrow it. This is good size flap here. If I think this will be a little bit, okay, I see. Ha. At least I have that there, so let me do this. So I'll fold this up. And then just fold this along right into the line like this. Like so. With the other side as well. Very quick. Okay, so I'll increase this crease a little bit here. This only hit to this part, hopefully, unless it's a good length. Can't exactly tell. Just to be sure, yeah, because I do these things here where this arm flap is, I can actually extend this crease here to actually get the exact size of the hand flap. And so if I do this, this is how long or big Yoshi's arm will be, actually. It looks small, but it's actually going to be, well, it's just going to be the right size in general, especially when you have the design here. Just boom, you can see that happening. These look even smaller than these flaps. Just don't. We need a lot of room, so that'll be good there. Now it'd be nice if I can make these be the leg flaps right here, just for good consistency reasons. Although it'll probably, well, because if I look at my Yoshi design here, or at least a better option to do this, I mean, it'll depend on this center part here, but even so, what's good about this certain idea I have in mind is at least the leg flap won't be, there's not going to really be a gap, an unnecessary gap between the arms and Yoshi's legs. If the legs are going to be long enough, that's going to be super good, because then we'll have enough details to get his boots right. So there is going to be some weird cases with why I think this might not work necessarily, especially with these two pieces here. But a lot of this is actually going to be some box pleating stuff going on, and so, and this will still be a good size flap, just because the tail flap will still be long enough, at least from what I can tell. And so I think this will work. So let's just go ahead and make those be where the legs will be. If it doesn't work, then that's okay. I can always re-record this if I need to. But I'm not afraid to try this out, though. Because typically Yoshi doesn't really have a big separation between his legs and stuff. If his legs end up being too long, I mean, at least they'll be long enough where there'll be some sort of gap, whatever stuff could go on. But like I said, it'd be nice to have long enough leg flap so we could get the boot details. And these are still the right length. especially for this area around where we'll get the tail flap. So it'll do this sort of rabbit ear fold like this. I always fold my models differently, unless I get really good consistency where I know I can't turn down the offer. But I don't know, this might work. So since I'll be doing some box pleating, like some Elias stretches, what will be wise is to will be to do something like this here. So we'll fold this up, and I'm actually gonna fold, so along these creases here, just try to keep it still folded tight like that. Just gonna fold these creases. So no new creases really, except we're creating them over here. I don't know. It's not making sense saying that. Oh, I forgot this. Other side. All the way till I get to that point. So I think the center part around here, so here's the good news too with this Certus setup, is that even if the leg flaps are too long here, I can still actually make them a little bit smaller if I add the saddle flaps around the center here. And this will be good because connecting to the center here, when I fold it down like this, this will connect to the back part of this flap right here. So I'll add these 22.5 creases just in case. This might help with some consistency reasons. I don't know, this might work. This actually might work better if the leg flaps are a little bit smaller, but I'll have to see. Let me just add a few extra creases here just to be safe. Oh my goodness, okay. Okay, sorry. So then I'll add, the last creases I'll add will be along these here. So I'm just gonna fold the paper in half like this. And then just fold these edges along these creases here, get that 22.5. And the crease pattern is basically complete right here. So now as for collapsing the design from here, the first place we're going to start off is going to be around this center here. So getting these, so fold this down. Or, oh no. Or, wait, let me, oh no, this is how I did it. So the way I did this before was to actually first pleat the legs like this. Or not the legs, but do this. So here's some box pleating stuff that will happen. So do it like this, these being pleated up, this flap along here forming. Just like that. Then I'll fold this down from what I wanted originally. Then I'll start creating the flap for the hands like this. And fold those creases, just kind of get these part flatten out. And then I'll open sync this center here. Pull this down maybe for now, or yeah, so I want that, so I want this tail, or the flap, that'll lead to the tail folded down like this. Because then what I'll do is that I'll fold this, basically do this sort of primarial fold, like this. With these folded, this will create the creases now, where then you can loosen these up and turn these into, you could turn these into actual flaps, like so. So just like that's there. And then I'll do a primarial fold right here. That's nice. Okay, so the next part here, I'm going to first fold this up. Do this, whatever part you may call it. So you're going to fold the arm flaps out like this. It's probably just going to fold till this tip can go as far as it can. Or no, not as far as it can, because then I'm going to be folding this arm flap up. So just same thing on both sides, like so. Or just do inside reverse folds, not primarial folds. Then I'll open sync this part that will connect to his head. So here's his little arms right here. Well, they're not as little as the T-Rex arms. Those are very tiny for his, compared to his other proportions. Okay, so then I think the best part to do here would be to do a pencil fold here. So this would be like a bird. So there's going to be those sort of certain bird-based patterns. I'm also going to loosen this part here. If you fail this, try again. Don't give up. For now, I'll do these spread squashes around the tail here, because I think this is what I did before, and but here we go. All right. So to get the leg flaps at this point, so like I said, this will use some box pleating stuff. So it looks like, I think the best thing to do this, now that I think about it, would be to actually do these little rabbit ear folds. So these will appear as tiny flaps at first. So you'll get this, oh my goodness, you'll get this thing going back here. I didn't really plan this out super well, but this is something I think this will work even better for forming the legs. Okay, so those are formed. Very tiny leg flap. So this is where the box pling stuff will come into play. So I'll open this up slightly here. Or not slightly, kind of gradually like this. And basically, I'm just gonna... So these will use... So thankfully at this part, this, if you follow along with the crease pattern, this should be a little bit easier with the creases you just added. But especially around this top section here might be a little bit weird to do. Oh, blur, I don't know. Okay, so this will be opened up a little bit. Okay, so that's exactly my plan, pretty much. Just be sure this part is this line here can be lined along correctly. Then I'll pull these here. Do the same thing on this side, so light stretch. So again, you're just, if you look closely, this part might seem a little bit weird at first, and this is definitely a complex design. But at least get something like this back here, so this is correct. And all of those small flaps we were kind of forming are basically gone at this point. Nothing there now. If you need a little crease pattern for reference on how it ended up, basically you'll have the triangle that's, let's see, one step down from where the graph ends, and then this part here basically looks like that. It is hard to explain commentary wise, but that part is still doable. Like, I won't need to tell you anything specific other than just try your best. Be sure you get the arm flaps right. There could be an easier way to do this, but this was just kind of the best way I could do consistently. Now with this setup, I guess I can try this with the legs here. So we'll just, again, so this is using existing creases from when we did the crease pattern. You'll notice at this point, so this is kind of what I expected. So despite kind of how I wanted the leg flaps to be pretty long, you'll notice that the tail flap, okay, so it is kind of hitting at the bottom part of the hand correctly. Actually, yeah, so so if we check out the flaps, that's basically what we're dealing with. But I could actually pull this a little bit further back, because this does look awfully pretty close, like too close where those flaps are. And plus, we need the flap for the saddle, and so it'll be appropriate to make the legs just a little bit smaller. The way I'm going to do this then is I'll unfold this part. I'll do a spread squash right here. I think might as well. This part might be very similar to a bird-based flap, a bird-based pattern around Yoshi's body. The leg flaps, while they do appeal a little bit smaller, this is still a good flap size though, from what I see. Okay, so then, yeah, so let me just try to get the saddle flap right, because it'd be nice to make the leg flap kind of connect like this, so that way, sorry, this way like this. Because the saddle flap is kind of pretty far away. But here's my, okay, so here's my idea then. I think this will work. So I'm actually going to first do, so I'm going to fold this down. I'm basically going to open sync these flaps here to make this part of the legs a little bit smaller. But while I'm doing that, okay, so okay, let me redo that part because I'm kind of, so right here I'm actually gonna do a spread squash instead, just to start off. We'll do on both sides, of course. So just spread squashing it like this, exactly. You'll start to get these sort of creases here that are perfect to create the top part of his saddle. So using those creases from the spread squash, we now have the saddle flap all the way up here this time at a more appropriate spot. Let's see. So yeah. So that's the spot where we want it this time. So just like that's there. Now, as for getting the tail flap, so you'll notice the tail flap is actually pretty long. Longer than it should be. But what's kind of nice is that the tail flap gets to be a little bit thick because it's going to be a middle flap. And this, where my finger is, right there is going to be where the size of it will end. So I'm going to fold the legs out like this first. Or at least while I'm folding them out, the tail flap. So you'll fold the tail flap basically like this, like a square almost. And the leg flaps are going to be in that 22.5 degree angle. Might be a little bit thick around this part, but it's not going to cause me too much issues though. And I think I'm going to inside reverse fold the leg flaps like this. Legs will be kind of crimp here from what I'm doing now, so I'm inside reverse folding on this specific layer up here. Actually, I should, yeah, so. Gonna fold that settle flap down. And then I'm gonna narrow the tail flap like this with the leg flaps too. Because of the little crimp that I did, you should get a narrow spot like this. So just not making the tail way too thin. But this size is good, especially where it lines along with the actual size of the body there. Then I'm going to do open sync on the top saddle here, while also kind of doing this sort of pushing method up here. Okay, so now while I'm at it, I'm actually gonna narrow the arm flaps now. So we're getting pretty close to dealing with more of the details, especially around the head. We'll have enough room for the head stuff. But I'm gonna first, so this is kind of a little bit finicky here, but in here, I'm pulling this flap down in here. Or I have this here, just so I can set up to do an open sync. And then I'm gonna narrow his hands. Or at least create the flap for the fingers, I should say. I'll do it like this. Right here. Then I'll do these inside reverse folds. Should be careful, some of these are kind of tearing for some reason. So just, I'm doing 3 inside reverse folds to create his fingers. And I'm gonna crimp the arm like this, I think is what I'll do. I'm doing this right now just because of some weird stuff with the layers going on around here. Okay, so I'll do the other side very quick. Look at the look at the hands folded. To the inside reverse folds. Okay, fold them out like this, at least for now. Okay. So once I get the head down, the rest of the details should come into play soon. Right, so thankfully what we have going on here, so this is, I kind of saved the eyes, because I didn't do them in the crease pattern, but for doing the eyes here, so we'll have this here, but I'm gonna do these little inside reverse folds. It's along here. Let's see, so we have those going on there. Come on. I'm going to push this up now. Use those triangle flaps to form it like this. The reason I do it like this now, it's just much easier and quicker to do. Okay, so yay. So there we go. So look at that. So we have a long flap for his nose, which is really good. Now, how I'll get the details for... So getting the details for Yoshi kind of comes up to your preference at this point, especially with how you want to pose him. See, but I'll fold the model in half. I'll kind of push the saddle flap up a little bit by sinking these here. So I do want to get a belly flap kind of for Yoshi because he's a little bit thin right now. I don't think we really want a thin Yoshi. Although this is not going according exactly to my plan here. I think just because of this flap folded behind here. So I guess I'm gonna do this wrap thingy. Just kind of wrap this around, push this here. Although maybe I don't want to do it on this top layer. Okay, so I'm gonna have this wrapped around. If I want to make the belly a little bit thicker, what I'll do then is once you wrap it around it, just do these spread squashes here. See a lot of arranging stuff here, but I'm just okay, yeah, be sure this is pushed in. See, swivel fold underneath this here. Yeah, if the belly ends up being too like is like too low, you can always fold this part underneath like this. Okay, so same thing on the other side here then to get the belly. I'm gonna first wrap this top layer while also pushing this carefully not to rip. So just kind of maybe a slight open on the model, but not exactly. And then spread squash on the top here. Swivel fold there. So you get it around the same length as the other one. Okay, so that's looking good there. So let's do the head next, because that's kind of the main thing where we just kind of need the flaps to start forming. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get his like little spike flaps on the back of his head. Spikes. They're not really spiky, but I'm just going to call him that. But we'll get his 3 spikes back here. But first, just, yeah, one at a time. I'll fold them like this. you'll do this, I don't know what's this sort of fold here is called, but you'll have this part folded up like this where I'm pinching. And then when you go to the next spike flap, it'll kind of do a similar thing. Okay, so I'll do it on all of these here. So you do this kind of spread sync here. The back part is going to be a little bit longer than the others, so you'll have to kind of crimp it down a little bit. So you do more like that, and then I'll crimp the head by folding this up, and then it's hard to see what's going on. Okay, so right here, this is what I mean. This sort of search and crimp fold right here. Just get more like that. So I think I might want to try to fold this one flap up. This one layer. Like this. See, just so the hand flaps aren't getting in the way, I'll pinch them and maybe hold them down like this. For now. So, okay, so now for Yoshi here, what I'll do with the nose, this is what I kind of always do, is to do something like this, basically. You just pull this off. This part right here, you'll basically just pinch, and then you'll slowly flatten it. I'll crimp the nose a little bit forward. Just like that. I'm gonna wrap this underneath. After getting this, so I'll fold this, either fold this part or sink it. I don't care. Just kind of be sure we could get to the eyes. The eyes, a lot of times, I like to sink the top. And you'll just kind of, with the layers, so much of it is just giving that 3D effect. Is usually the key. Some swivel folds here and there. So then for his nose, at least to get the bottom, his mouth actually, I'll kind of inside reverse fold it like this. Then inside reverse fold the mouth down here. Might have to play around with this depending on how this ends up turning out. Let's see. I'll first do an inside reverse fold underneath this part of the nose. Actually, be sure this lines up right. Let's see. Gonna have to keep arranging until it looks right. Then try to get it. Okay, something nice you can do at this part. Well, before I get to that part, the bottom part of the mouth, I'll change it where it's more like this right here. Try to get underneath that. I'll fold this socket, or sorry, this flap into the socket of his nose. Or pocket, whatever. And then I'll fold these parts underneath the nose. Especially to make the mouth more visible. Let's see, and yeah, that looks pretty good. I kind of like the more round sort of shape. Looks more like a circle. Looks good on both sides. Some of these layers below are kind of folding out though, which is kind of annoying. But proportions wise though, I say it looks pretty good. So I think I should do the feet next. So the feet, how I'll do them this time around. There's many ways you could do them. But I'll kind of spread them. Like, it's almost a spread sink kind of at the one part, but... Well, actually it's easier than that. Get more like this. This part you might have to play around for a sec until it kind of looks boot-like. See, I'll crimp it back here a little bit like this. And if it looks kind of weird, then I can always change that. But I'll do the same thing on this side, just kind of opening it, pleating up a little bit. I'll fold this part behind, leaving me an opportunity to kind of pull the feet a little bit forward more. Probably use side reverse fold this part a little bit, which I didn't do on this leg. So let me do that underneath. Kind of round the tail a little bit. Around the belly a little bit. Make it a little bit shorter, but not quite. Is what I'll prefer. Okay, so that looks a lot better. Wow, look at that. He's getting almost done. No, I'm not going to do that crimp. That's a bad idea. Maybe what I want to do more is kind of crimp the tail down a little bit more. As for the hands, what I'll do, just kind of spread them apart a little bit. See, let me bump the saddle a little bit, because I think sometimes it gets a little bit too big. One sheet of paper. You've all seen it come alive in one sheet of paper, guys. I think I'll for now pose them like this, and then I'll just kind of decide after this video. Or at least after folding, sorry. But at this point, the rest is kind of up to you of how you'll detail him, but this is basically him finished, and here, I'll show you the final results right now.